American explorer Victor Vescovo descended nearly 11 kilometers into the Mariana Trench, and this, at its lowest point, is nearly 11 kilometers deep.
Beneath the ocean's surface, a dark, silent world lies hidden, untouched for centuries. But now, one nation is racing to uncover its secrets. Not for science, but for power. In the deepest, most hostile depths of the Earth, unimaginable resources await. And as one country plunges deeper than ever before, the rest of the world stands on the brink of losing control. What's down there? And why is China moving so fast to claim it?
But now, a Chinese team has developed a small robot that can operate in the world's deepest sea trench under extremely high pressure.
The Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, is one of Earth's final frontiers. With depths that reach nearly 11,000 meters, it remains one of the most extreme, mysterious, and least explored places on the planet. Situated in the Western Pacific, just east of the Philippines, this vast underwater canyon is a place where light never reaches. Its depths are a hostile environment, with crushing pressures and freezing temperatures that challenge even the most advanced technologies we possess. Despite its remoteness and the harsh conditions, there is an urgent push to understand what lies beneath these immense depths.
It's a vast, frontier down there. It's going to take us a while to understand. The impression to me was that it was a very lunar, very desolate place, very isolated. Now, my feeling was one of complete isolation from all of humanity.
It may be featureless, but these videos from British researchers using robotic subs have recently revealed remarkable animals, like these snailfish and a giant shrimp-like amphipod from 4 miles down. Who knows what Cameron's team might find?
This push is coming from one country in particular, China. While many nations have explored the oceans and conducted research in their own right, China is rapidly gaining ground in deep-sea exploration. Their aggressive push to delve deeper, faster, and with greater investment is setting a new pace in oceanic exploration. This isn't just about scientific discovery. China is positioning itself to secure resources and claim underwater territories that might be crucial for global influence in the future.
Nobody thought the ocean was this deep. So all of a sudden we've got scientists saying, why is that? The world's major navies spend a lot of time and effort developing submarine hunting technology.
Understanding the scale of this effort requires first grasping the unique characteristics of the Mariana Trench and the zones that lie within. The trench is not a singular uniform structure. Instead, it is made up of a series of increasingly inhospitable layers that provide a striking contrast from the ocean's surface to its deepest regions. The first zone encountered is the photic zone, the area closest to the surface. This is where sunlight still penetrates, creating a thriving ecosystem that is familiar to most people. Coral reefs, schools of fish, and vibrant marine life fill this upper layer. This is the environment that most people imagine when they think of the ocean, warm, clear, and full of life. The photic zone extends to around 200 meters, and it is the depth where swimmers and snorkelers typically find themselves. It's a place of abundance, where life flourishes in colorful reefs and bustling underwater communities. However, beneath this familiar world, the ocean starts to change. Descending further, you enter the twilight zone, or the mesopelagic zone, which stretches from 200 to 1,000 meters below the surface. Here, the light begins to fade, and creatures must adapt to the dwindling daylight. Sunlight doesn't penetrate much further than the upper layers, and as the darkness takes hold, the temperature drops significantly. In this zone, pressure begins to build to around 10 times what we experience at sea level, enough to crush the majority of surface-dwelling creatures. But life finds a way, and strange, alien-like species make the twilight zone their home. Among them is the oarfish, a giant, serpent-like creature that can grow longer than a bus, and the sea angel, a delicate, transparent slug that flutters through the deep water with ghostly wings. As you continue your descent, you enter the midnight zone, At 1,000 meters, the last traces of sunlight vanish completely. The creatures here have evolved to survive in total darkness, relying on bioluminescence to light up their surroundings. Creatures in this zone look like something out of science fiction. Some have glowing lures, others are translucent, and many possess enormous jaws, designed for capturing whatever scarce food might drift by. The pressure here is overwhelming, 100 times that of the surface, equivalent to the weight of 1,500 pounds on every square inch of your body. It's a place where only the hardiest creatures survive, such as the blobfish, which appears normal at these depths, but morphs into a gelatinous blob when brought to the surface, an eerie reminder of the intense pressure of the deep. But the midnight zone is just the beginning. At 4,000 meters, you enter the abyssal zone. This part of the ocean is cold, dark, and silent, and life here is sparse. The seafloor might look like plain, barren mud, but beneath the surface, it is a complex and important environment. As everything above in the ocean dies and sinks, it is broken down and slowly drifts down to the seabed, creating what is known as marine snow. This organic matter forms a thick layer of sediment that can be kilometers deep in some places. The ocean floor in the abyssal zone is a huge carbon sink, where carbon is trapped and stored, helping to regulate the Earth's climate. But despite this important role, life is still hard to come by. Creatures in this zone survive on what little food they can find, with scavengers picking apart the smallest scraps from the surface world. Occasionally, something extraordinary happens. A dead whale might fall to the ocean floor, creating what scientists call a whale fall. This is a rare event that brings a burst of life to the otherwise barren seafloor. When a whale carcass sinks, it becomes an ecosystem unto itself, attracting sharks, hagfish, snails, worms, and even bacteria. For a short time, the nutrients from the decaying whales support a diverse community, showing how life can thrive even in the most inhospitable conditions. The pressure and temperature here are extreme, making survival a constant challenge. But the creatures that call this zone home are uniquely adapted to these conditions. At even greater depths, beyond 6,000 meters, you reach the Hadal zone, named after the Greek god Hades. This is the most extreme environment of all, found within ocean trenches such as the Mariana Trench. The pressure here is a staggering 600 times what we experience at the surface, making it nearly impossible for most life forms to survive. Yet, life does exist, albeit in strange and highly adapted forms. Some organisms, like giant single-celled creatures known as xenophores, thrive under conditions that would crush most life on Earth. Tiny pale shrimp can be found crawling silently across the muddy bottom, eking out a living in an environment of total darkness and unbearable pressure. At nearly 11,000 meters, the Mariana Trench reaches its deepest point, Challenger Deep. This is the most extreme depth of the ocean, and its pressure is so intense that it would feel like 90 full-grown elephants pressing on each fingertip. Despite the overwhelming conditions, life continues to exist, albeit in rare and bizarre forms. However, for the most part, we still know very little about what truly lies at these depths. The trench itself spans over 2,500 kilometers across the Pacific, and within it lies Challenger Deep, a point that has only been reached by a handful of explorers. In 1960, Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh became the first to descend to this depth, staying just 20 minutes. It wasn't until 2012 that filmmaker James Cameron made a solo descent, capturing footage and gathering samples. Since then, deep-sea exploration has been sporadic, expensive and limited, mainly due to the challenges posed by the extreme conditions. This brings us to China's role in this expanding frontier. While exploration of the deep sea has long been seen as a rare high-risk endeavor, China is changing the game. They are making deep-sea exploration not just an occasional mission, but a concerted ongoing effort to dominate the field. Through advanced technology, including robotic submersibles and fleets of smaller autonomous drones, China is establishing a strong foothold in the deep-sea race. As they race to explore these extreme depths, China is not only looking for scientific discovery, they are strategically positioning themselves to claim the resources and territory that the deep sea holds, ensuring they are ahead of the competition when it comes to controlling the ocean's hidden treasures. The deep sea, with its complex ecosystems and untapped resources, represents a new frontier for exploration. It is a place that until recently was inaccessible to all but a few. But as countries like China accelerate their efforts, the race to understand and control the deep sea is intensifying. What lies beneath the surface of the Mariana Trench could hold the key to new scientific discoveries, energy sources, and even global power dynamics in the coming century. It is a race that for now is just beginning. The deeper you descend into the ocean, the more alien the world becomes. Beyond the surface layers, where light still penetrates, the ocean shifts into a world of darkness and crushing pressure, a place where life struggles to survive. Yet, even in these extreme conditions, life finds a way to adapt and thrive. As we venture deeper into the depths of the ocean, we discover that the creatures that inhabit these zones are not only survivors, but have evolved in fascinating ways to overcome the challenges of the deep sea. One of the most intriguing features of the deep ocean is the presence of what scientists call marine snow. This phenomenon occurs when organic matter, such as dead plankton, fish, and other sea creatures, slowly sinks through the water column to the ocean floor. As it descends, it breaks apart and forms tiny particles that eventually accumulate on the sea, creating a thick layer of soft carbon-rich mud. Over millions of years, this marine snow builds up, and in some places, it forms sediment layers that are more than a kilometer thick. These layers not only preserve the history of ocean life, but also act as one of the planet's most significant carbon sinks. The carbon trapped in the deep ocean can remain there for centuries, playing an essential role in regulating the Earth's climate. Although marine snow provides vital nutrients to the creatures of the deep sea, life in these regions is scarce. Most organisms that live at these depths survive on the organic matter that sinks from higher in the water column. These creatures are adapted to survive in an environment where food is scarce and energy is precious. Some of them are scavengers, feeding on whatever bits of marine snow or dead creatures they can find. Others are adapted to life in extreme conditions, such as the giant tube worms that live in the deep ocean near hydrothermal vents. These worms rely on a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that convert the chemicals in the water into energy, allowing them to survive in an environment where sunlight never reaches. But the abyssal zone is not the only place where life flourishes in the deep sea. Occasionally, something extraordinary happens. A dead whale, for example, might sink to the ocean floor, creating a feeding frenzy among the deep-sea creatures. When a whale carcass falls to the seafloor, it becomes a magnet for life. Within hours, scavengers such as sharks and hagfish move in, followed by worms, snails, and bacteria. Over time, a whole ecosystem forms around the remains, providing a burst of energy in an otherwise barren environment. This event, known as a whale fall, shows how life can thrive even in the most inhospitable places. In some cases, a whale fall can support life for years, providing a valuable source of nutrients in a part of the ocean where food is hard to come by. The pressure in the deep sea is another factor that makes life so challenging in these depths. In the abyssal zone, the pressure is already immense, at about 400 times what we experience at the surface. But as we descend further, the pressure continues to increase. At 6,000 meters, the pressure is more than 600 times that of the surface, and the temperature is just above freezing. Yet, even at these extreme depths, life continues to exist. Creatures in these zones have evolved to withstand the crushing forces of the water, developing specialized adaptations to cope with the pressure. Some animals have flexible, soft bodies that allow them to withstand the immense pressure without collapsing. Others, like certain species of shrimp, have exoskeletons that are reinforced to protect them from the crushing forces of the deep. As we reach the Hadal zone, which lies beneath 6,000 meters, the conditions become even more extreme. Here the pressure is so intense that only a handful of submersibles and deep-sea robots have the capability to withstand it. The Hadal Zone is found in the ocean's trenches, such as the Mariana Trench, and it is one of the most extreme and inaccessible environments on Earth. Despite the crushing pressure and near freezing temperatures, life continues to survive in this zone. One of the most remarkable features of the Hadal Zone is the presence of giant single-celled organisms known as xenophores. These creatures thrive in the deepest parts of the ocean, filtering food from the seafloor and adapting to conditions that would be fatal to most life forms. But what makes the Mariana Trench truly unique is the Challenger Deep, the deepest point on Earth's seafloor. Reaching nearly 11,000 meters, it is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. The pressure at this depth is staggering, with more than 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at the surface. For most life forms, this is an environment so extreme that survival seems impossible. Yet, despite the immense pressure, life exists in forms that are unlike anything found on the surface. Creatures like xenophores, giant shrimp, and other strange organisms have evolved to survive in these conditions, where food is scarce, light is non-existent, and pressure is overwhelming. The exploration of the Mariana Trench and other deep-sea trenches is a relatively recent endeavor, with only a handful of manned expeditions reaching these extreme depths. In 1960, Swiss engineer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh became the first humans to reach the bottom of the Mariana Trench in a specially designed submersible. Their mission lasted just 20 minutes, and no one followed until 2012, when filmmaker James Cameron made a solo descent to Challenger Deep. Cameron's dive was a milestone in deep-sea exploration, as it was the first solo journey to the bottom of the trench in more than 50. Cameron spent several hours at the bottom, capturing footage, collecting samples, and documenting the unique environment of the trench. In the years since, exploration of the Mariana Trench has been limited by the extreme conditions and the high cost of deep-sea technology. The pressure at these depths is so intense that only a few submersibles and robotic vehicles are capable of withstanding it. However, this is beginning to change. In recent years, technological advancements have made it possible to explore deeper and more frequently. One of the most significant developments in this field has been the rise of autonomous deep-sea robots. These small, agile machines are designed to operate in the deepest parts of the ocean, collecting data and conducting research without the need for human intervention. China, in particular, has made significant strides in deep-sea exploration. The country has been investing heavily in ocean research and technology, with the goal of becoming a leader in the field. In 2020, China made its deepest dive ever with a submersible called Fendu, reaching depths previously thought to be unreachable. But unlike previous missions, China did not stop there. They have continued to develop smaller, more advanced submersibles, as well as autonomous robots that can operate in the harshest conditions of the deep sea. These robots are designed to explore the ocean's depths repeatedly, gathering valuable data and opening up new possibilities for deep sea. China's interest in the deep sea goes beyond scientific curiosity. The ocean holds vast resources, including valuable minerals, rare earth metals, and energy sources like methane hydrates and cold seeps. These resources are becoming increasingly important as nations look to secure their future energy needs and access rare materials used in high-tech industries. Cold seeps, for example, are regions where methane and hydrogen sulfide leak from beneath the ocean floor, creating unique ecosystems that thrive without sunlight. These areas may hold clues to how energy systems could operate in extreme environments, and they are of particular interest to nations like China that are seeking to secure their access to these potential energy sources. Another valuable resource in the deep sea is methane hydrate, also known as fire ice. This substance forms when methane gas becomes trapped in ice under high pressure and low temperatures. When extracted and burned, methane hydrate could potentially provide a new source of energy. However, the process of extracting methane hydrate is risky, as disturbing the seabed could trigger underwater landslides or release large amounts of methane into the ocean and atmosphere. Despite the risks, the potential rewards are significant, and China's investment in deep-sea exploration could position them to control this valuable resource in the future. Beyond the resources themselves, the deep sea also holds strategic importance. The seabed is home to critical infrastructure, including undersea cables that carry much of the world's internet traffic. These cables are essential for global communications and trade, and any disruption to them could have serious consequences. As countries like China invest in deep-sea exploration, they are also positioning themselves to control access to these crucial infrastructure systems. The deep sea, once seen as a remote and inaccessible part of the planet, is now a frontier that holds immense potential for scientific discovery, resource extraction, and global influence. In recent years, deep-sea exploration has shifted from a rare and expensive endeavor to a far more ambitious and scalable operation. The development of new technologies, particularly autonomous deep-sea robots, has revolutionized the way scientists and engineers approach the exploration of the ocean's deepest depths. China, in particular, has emerged as a leader in this field, using cutting-edge technology and a long-term strategic vision to gain a foothold in the deep sea. What was once a series of isolated high-risk missions has now evolved into a concerted effort to not only explore the deep sea but to control access to its resources and strategic locations. The turning point for China came in 2020, when the country's deep-sea exploration team conducted its to date with the submersible Defendu. The Defendu reached new depths and collected invaluable data, marking a significant milestone in China's push to become a leader in ocean research. However, what sets China apart from previous deep-sea exploration efforts is not just the scale of their dives, but the frequency and repetition of their missions. Where once deep-sea missions were rare, expensive one-offs, China is now working to build a fleet of submersible and autonomous robots that can explore the deep sea regularly and efficiently. The aim is not only to gather data, but to establish a continuous presence in the depths of the ocean, building the infrastructure needed to secure control over underwater territories and resources. One of the key innovations in this new wave of exploration is the development of small autonomous robots that can operate independently. These robots are designed to be compact, agile, and capable of performing a wide range of tasks in the deep sea. Unlike traditional manned submersibles, which are large, expensive, and limited in their scope, these robots can be deployed in fleets, allowing for more extensive exploration at a fraction of the cost. The small size of these robots also makes them ideal for exploring areas of the ocean that were previously inaccessible due to their extreme depths or dangerous conditions. These autonomous robots can travel across the seafloor, collecting data and performing tasks without the need for a pilot or a tether. This means that they can explore deeper and more frequently than traditional submersibles, which require careful planning and expensive equipment for each dive. The ability to deploy fleets of these robots allows for a much more extensive and repeatable exploration effort, gathering data over a larger area and creating a more complete picture of the deep-sea environment. For China, this shift from rare, one-off missions to regular scalable operations is a game changer. It allows them to build a long-term presence in the deep sea, one that can continually gather information and monitor the ocean's changing conditions. But why is China so focused on this deep sea race? The answer lies in the resources and strategic importance of the deep seabed. It is home to vast mineral deposits, including rare earth metals, cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese. These metals are essential for a wide range of industries, particularly in the production of batteries for electric vehicles and renewable. As demand for these metals continues to rise, the deep sea has become an increasingly important source of these valuable resources. Polymetallic nodules, small rock-like formations found on the are particularly valuable. These nodules are rich in the metals needed for modern technologies, and China is keen to secure access to these resources before others can. In addition to minerals, the deep sea is also home to potential energy sources such as methane hydrates, also known as fire ice. Methane hydrate is a crystalline substance that forms when methane gas is trapped in ice under high pressure and low temperatures. When extracted, methane hydrate can be burned as a source of energy, potentially providing an abundant and relatively untapped fuel source. However, the extraction of methane hydrate is not without risks. Disturbing the seabed could trigger underwater landslides or release large amounts of methane, a potent greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Despite these risks, China is eager to explore the potential of methane hydrate as a future energy source, positioning itself to lead the charge in the development of this technology. One of the most significant developments in China's deep-sea strategy is its plans to build a permanent underwater base. This base, designed for 6 scientists to live and work for up to 30 days at a time, will be located approximately 2,000 meters below the surface. The base will be similar to a space station, but located on the ocean floor, providing China with a unique opportunity to conduct long-term scientific research and technological testing in the extreme conditions of the deep sea. The establishment of this base is not just about scientific discovery, it is about gaining the experience, tools and infrastructure needed to operate in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. The underwater base will give China the ability to test new tools and technologies, monitor the deep sea, and collect data continuously. This is critical for a country that is looking to secure control over the resources of the deep sea. The base will also provide China with valuable experience in operating in the deep, which is essential for the long-term sustainability of their exploration efforts. By establishing a permanent presence in the deep, China is positioning itself to dominate deep-sea exploration and secure access to the ocean's resources for years to come. This focus on long-term infrastructure is also reflected in China's investment in ocean science and technology. The country is pouring significant resources into developing new research labs, funding large-scale ocean programs, and training the next generation of ocean engineers, biologists, and roboticists. This investment is not just about exploring the deep sea. It is about creating a pipeline of talent and expertise that will allow China to maintain its leadership in this field. China is not only investing in its own scientists and engineers, but is also attracting top talent from around the world. This influx of international expertise gives China an edge in developing the next generation of deep-sea technology and research. While China has made significant strides in deep-sea exploration, the country is not alone in recognizing the strategic importance of the ocean's depths. Other nations, including the United States, are also investing in ocean research and technology. However, unlike China, the US has been cutting funding for its ocean science programs, particularly for agencies like NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. These cuts have led to a decline in the US's deep-sea research capabilities, leaving a gap in the country's ability to compete in this rapidly evolving field. Meanwhile, China has been increasing its investment in ocean science, putting it in a strong position to lead the global race to control the deep sea. The competition for resources in the deep sea is not limited to minerals and energy sources. The ocean's infrastructure, including the undersea cables that carry much of the world's internet traffic, is becoming increasingly important. These cables are critical for global communication, trade, and military operations. The deep sea is home to a vast network of undersea cables that link continents and enable the flow of data across the globe. As China invests in deep sea, it is also positioning itself to control access to this critical infrastructure. The ability to monitor and repair undersea could give China significant leverage over global communications and trade, making the deep sea a key area of strategic importance. China's deep-sea exploration efforts are part of a broader strategy to secure control over the ocean's resources and infrastructure. By building a fleet of autonomous robots, establishing underwater research stations, and investing in the next generation of ocean scientists and engineers, China is positioning itself to dominate the deep-sea frontier. The resources and knowledge that lie beneath the ocean surface could shape the future of global energy, technology, and communication, making the deep sea an increasingly important area of competition and cooperation. In the coming years, China's deep sea exploration efforts will likely play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the ocean's resources. As the world's demand for energy and minerals continues to grow, the deep sea could become a new frontier for exploration and exploitation. China's aggressive approach to deep-sea exploration, combined with its focus on long-term infrastructure and technological innovation, positions it to lead the way in this emerging field. Whether other nations can catch up remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the deep sea is no longer a remote and inaccessible part of the planet. It is becoming a new frontier for discovery, competition, and global influence. The deep sea has always been one of the planet's last frontiers, a mysterious world that remains largely unexplored. As nations around the world race to stake their claim in this uncharted territory, the stakes have never been higher. The deep sea holds vast resources, minerals, energy sources, and critical that could shape the future of global power and influence. At the same time, it offers an opportunity for scientific discovery and innovation. However, the potential rewards are tempered by the risks of unchecked exploration, and the question of how to manage these resources and protect the ocean's fragile ecosystems has never been more urgent. As one of the most ambitious players in this race, China's actions in the deep sea are setting the pace for the future of ocean exploration, with significant implications for global security, economics, and environmental stewardship. China's deep-sea ambitions are rooted in a clear recognition of the value that lies beneath the ocean's surface. The country has invested heavily in developing the technology, infrastructure, and expertise required to explore the ocean's depths. At the heart of this effort are China's autonomous deep-sea robots, which are enabling the country to explore areas that were previously out of reach. These small, agile robots are capable of navigating the extreme conditions of the deep sea, collecting data, and performing tasks that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. The development of these robots marks a significant shift in the way deep-sea exploration is conducted. Where once there were rare, expensive manned missions, China's robots are now providing a scalable and repeatable solution to exploring the ocean's depths. The significance of these technological advancements cannot be overstated. Deep-sea exploration is no longer limited to occasional high-risk missions. Instead, China is establishing a continuous presence in the deep sea, one that allows for regular exploration and data collection. This shift has the potential to change the dynamics of global competition in the ocean. The deep sea is home to valuable resources such as polymetallic nodules, methane hydrates, and rare earth metals, all of which are critical for future energy needs and the development of high-tech industries. China's ability to explore and secure access to these resources before other nations could give it a significant strategic advantage in the coming decades. As China's deep-sea capabilities continue to grow, the question of how to regulate and protect the ocean's resources becomes more pressing. The deep sea is an incredibly fragile environment, and many of the ecosystems that exist at these extreme depths are slow to recover from disruption. Scientists have warned that activities such as deep-sea mining could cause irreversible damage to these ecosystems, wiping out species that have yet to be discovered. Marine biologists have raised concerns that the deep sea could become the next frontier for exploitation, with devastating consequences for biodiversity and the environment. Given the lack of effective oversight and regulation, there is a real risk that the deep sea could be ravaged by unchecked commercial interests before we fully understand its ecological importance. The absence of a clear global framework for managing the deep sea is a significant issue. While there are some international agreements in place, such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, which establishes guidelines for the use of marine resources, enforcement remains inconsistent. The deep sea is often seen as a no-man's land, a place where sovereignty is unclear and national interests take precedence over environmental concerns. As China and other nations push forward with their deep-sea exploration efforts, there is a growing need for international cooperation and regulation to ensure that the ocean's resources are used sustainably and equitably. The deep sea, after all, is a shared global resource, and its exploitation will have consequences that extend far beyond any single nation's borders. One of the key challenges in regulating the deep sea is the difficulty in monitoring activities at such extreme depths. The technology required to explore the deep sea is highly specialized and expensive, and only a handful of nations have the resources to invest in it. This has created a situation where only a few countries are in a position to explore and exploit the ocean's depths. Without international cooperation, there is a real risk that a race to the bottom could occur, with countries rushing to extract resources without regard for the long-term environmental impacts. Given the potential for environmental destruction and the geopolitical tensions that could arise, it is crucial that nations work together to establish clear guidelines and oversight mechanisms for deep-sea exploration. China's approach to deep-sea exploration is not just about securing resources, it is also about gaining the knowledge and experience needed to operate in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. By investing in autonomous robots, underwater research stations, and long-term scientific research, China is building the infrastructure necessary to establish a permanent presence in the deep sea. The country is also investing heavily in ocean science, training the next generation of engineers, biologists, and roboticists who will be responsible for leading future deep-sea exploration efforts. These investments will ensure that China remains at the forefront of deep-sea research and technology, giving it a competitive edge in the race to control the ocean's resources. However, the deep-sea race is not limited to China. Other nations such as the United States, Japan, and Russia have also invested in ocean exploration, but they have taken a different approach. In the United States, for example, funding for ocean science has been cut in recent years, and agencies like NOAA have seen their budgets slashed. This has led to a decline in the US's ability to compete in deep-sea exploration, leaving a gap that China is eager to fill. While the US remains a key player in ocean science, its declining investment in this field has made it vulnerable to being outpaced by other nations, particularly China, which is investing heavily in both technology and human capital. The deep sea is a place of both opportunity and danger. It holds vast resources that could power the next century of human development, but it also contains ecosystems that are fragile and vulnerable to human activities. As nations like China continue to expand their deep-sea exploration efforts, the question of how to balance the pursuit of resources with the need to protect the environment becomes more critical. The deep sea is not a place where we can afford to rush in without fully understanding the consequences. Just as we learn to cooperate in space exploration, we must now extend that same spirit of collaboration to the deep sea. The stakes are too high, and the risks too great to approach this new frontier with anything less than caution and respect for the environment.